Hello, hello, my lovelies. Welcome back to my show, but on our new channel, the Owlite Network. And today I have brought you two guests that we've had before, and one brand new one. And I hope you guys enjoy what you find out about them and go and check out their stuff. And I hope you enjoy the show as we move forward. Okay, on to the first guest.
Hey everybody, I am Raz T Slasher. Good to see everybody. Oh, it's still on. Shit. I thought you were just saying names here, man. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't get the memos.
Oh, okay.
Hi, I'm Patricia Harris. I own Fae Corps Publishing, and I'm an author myself. I'm a creative. I do a whole lot of stuff, so you could probably find me everywhere.
Hey everybody, Kari Leigh Sanders here. I've been published a couple of times, once by Patti, and a couple of times with Raz, and here to hang out with everybody tonight and talk about the creative processes.
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Everybody I've found does write differently. I've seen some people, they set a timer and they write. Other people, they just write bits and pieces of different scenes throughout the book, and then they come back and try to figure out how to stick everything together. Mine is more of a spur of what I see and think at the time being and try to stick it together later. What about you guys? How do you guys come up with your stories? What makes your muse shine?
That's a good question, man. Like, honestly, a lot of what I get is from my childhood, growing up in the small town of Riverside, Ohio that I grew up in. I get a lot of my stories there. Some of them were like rumors and like little fake myths and legends from my neighborhood growing up that inspire me. Some are just, I remember the way things used to be there, and I'll go back home, and that's not a far drive for me. So I'll just go and kind of cruise the neighborhood, kind of get back in touch with my childhood again, and then an idea will pop up. The rest of the time, it's just some weird dream that I had that I just decided should be a story.
Yeah, I sleep a ridiculous amount of time. I used to be an insomniac, and I am an epileptic, and some of my sleeping disorder came from that, and so I've been put on meds, and now I sleep a lot. I have always dreamed since I had a head injury when I was a kid, just very, very, very in depth. My mom's like, your dreams are like you're on steroids. Nobody else remembers things like that. Nobody else dreams that much. And I don't know, because I'll start telling her, and she's like, just stop. You're like 10 minutes into this dream, and I remember that something scared me last night, but not what. I'll be like, but like the font used on the thing, and she's stop. Nobody does that. I'm like, I do. And so I try to document my dreams, but I'll wake up, especially if it's something like, this would be a good story, and I save it. And that's where some stuff comes from. But my characters are what really drive my dreams, because they drive my stories and my dreams. I'll start writing a story, and it'll be like, okay, and Jane does not want to be Jane anymore. She actually wants to be Johanna, and Johanna has decided that this is her backstory instead of that, and that she is going to do this rather than what I had her doing. So I guess everybody else is changing too, because Johanna just took over. And that's a bit of my process, is just letting them take over, and I just lay there and go, okay, Johanna, so then what happens? Oh, well, you know what? George isn't George anymore. Okay, well, so that's what I do. I don't know. It all gets confused. Patti, how about Patricia? Sorry. How about you?
Well, I prefer Patti, but I write as Patricia, and there's a whole story behind that. But with me, it depends on what I'm writing. My poetry tends to be trauma-based, honestly, most of it. But the stories, like, I write the kids' books were all stories I told my kid when she was little. They were bedtime stories, most of them. She would want a story when she was going to bed, and it was like, oh God, I got to come up with something. Pip was one of them. So I would come up with these random stories to tell her, and then I'd write them down later because they were actually decent stories. And then when I started writing the adult stories as Serena, it was mostly like D&D games that I had gone into with my boyfriend. We played these elaborate games, and I decided that those were great stories. So that's where Rust Gore and the Junkyard Zombie came from. It was literally a D&D game. And then Death in Neverland was actually his idea. He was sitting there talking to me one day, and he goes, hey, what if Peter Pan wasn't the hero? What if he was the villain? And I'm sitting there going, oh, that's awful. But I could see it. Oh God, that's awful. I could see it.
I think the esteemed honor in sitting in on some of their D&D games until life got nuts. And let me tell you, they are as grand as they sound. They are as adventurous and every bit as wild as you've heard, and they are amazing. And if you ever get a chance to play with her and her group, please do it. Just do it.
Evil Peter Pan was my favorite thing. When I read that, I was just like, oh my God. And I have to admit, you've inspired me. And I'm like, but Patty's already done that. I want to do it differently, but I don't want to be like stealing from Patti because there's like so many ideas there.
Do it.
Grand.
Dude,
do it. That's the fun thing. That's the fun thing. It doesn't matter if I've already done it. You haven't. Do it. Seriously. You haven't done it, so do it.
All the time.
You do a stories from Neverland anthology about different things happening, in Neverland from different perspectives, different characters. See,
that could be fun.
And the first one could be your novella. She disappeared.
Oh, we lost Patti.
Yeah. But the thing I've noticed about all of you guys, your writing is amazing. It's thought out, it's well written, and you can see the stories happen in your head. And Patti's poetry always helps spark mine. So that is something I've enjoyed. And yes.
I think she's back. There she
you
is.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I accidentally hit the back button on my phone and it went boop.
Oh,
Like,
there are some. I do that more than once a show on accident. I just come back and go, wrong lever.
Pretty much.
And we can, that would be great. And the first one in the entire anthology should be your novella.
Yeah, man.
Should
Like,
be
you pick that off, and then you open up in the anthology
Neverland
after
theme.
that, like a follow-up.
That could be fun.
But yeah, I kind of got discouraged at one point because my son was telling me that a story that I was writing had already been done, and I got so upset about it. I was like, okay, but I haven't done it.
Mm-mm.
And my boyfriend looked at me and said, that's it exactly. You haven't done it.
Yep.
And that's what it comes down to. Unless you have already done a story, it's not been done in your voice. It's not been done by you. It's not been done.
Right.
It doesn't matter if 50 people have written the same story. They have not written the same story. Because they don't tell it the same way you will. Your story is going to be different than the way anybody else is going to tell it.
And it may have bits and pieces of Patti's story, but oh my God, your version will be so different and so worth diving into.
I get a
So
lot of
Absolutely.
I get a lot of shit for something that I tell everyone. Every note has been played, every story has been written, and every portrait or painting has been painted.
There are no new ideas. It's how you tell it that makes the idea worth having.
It's how we individually arrange those notes, those brush strokes, those keystrokes. that is what makes something unique and original. It doesn't matter. I mean, tropes, guys, tropes exist for a reason. For example, something that's done in a certain element or genre that's done a million times and everybody expects it. That's what a trope is. And they're tropes because they work.
See,
And there's a reason why fan fiction is such a thing.
Fan fiction and comic books. I was a comic book geek. I took some time off because I did not understand. I took some time off of comic books and I took some time off of computering. I was a really good computer person way back in the day because my dad was the computer guy and worked at the computer place, and like I learned how to do all the basic programming and stuff like seriously basic, and the stuff like that. And then I was really poor for a while and was living in places where like, what is this internet stuff? Like I went from BBS to suddenly we had Google. And so it was just this like, wow, okay. And there's MySpace and there's all this stuff. And I had to relearn it. But I did the same thing with comic books. I took a lot of time off because I couldn't afford to buy them. And I didn't realize that, guess what? There are places where you can read them online and you can pay for them too. So we're not encouraging pirating of anything, by the way. I'm just saying, like, if you can't make it down to the local comic book shop all the time, there are ways to get that. And they write, how many times has Uncle Ben died and how many more times is he going to have to die?
Yeah.
And how many Uncle Bens need to die to make the rice?
So yeah, you're encouraging me to something that I encourage other people to do, but I back off of myself sometimes. But it has given me the thought where it's like, yeah, it's okay to do something else that has been done with your own flavor on it.
Yeah.
That's what
multi-world theory. Multi-world theory. A lot of people don't take this into account.
Yep.
Just because my world exists with this particular Peter Pan does not mean that there's not world 350 over here with your world and your version of Peter Pan.
To quote Stephen King, there are other worlds than these.
Exactly.
Yes.
So even if you decide to do an evil Peter Pan differently than I did, it could still exist in multi-world theory.
Yeah.
At that point, there was this project being developed. I'm not sure if it ever actually came out as going to be a movie or if they ended up backing off on it. But it was a story about a modern version of Peter Pan where Hook was actually a detective in Neverland and Peter Pan was a serial killer. And it had a stellar script. I read the whole script. Fucking amazing story. And someone could argue that that's the same thing, even though it's clearly not. You know what I mean? The same thing. It's that arrangement. It's the vehicle you're telling the story in. So much. Do you think there's not 2 million stories about a monster under the bed? Well, let me tell you, I'll probably write another 20 of them myself because that shit's awesome. It's fun.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people need to chill out about the it's been done before stuff, I think. Like, they really need to chill out about it, man.
I had this dream, and usually, this is a thing, when I dream about spiders, it means something needs to get done. The spiders are building their webs, and it means that I haven't finished something. I'm spreading myself too far on it. I need to pull it back together. And sometimes spiders are just really terrifying too, but generally if I dream about a non-malicious spider, it's because, or in kind of malicious, but very there spider, it means that I have to finish something. And I had this dream once though, and like I immediately was on Reddit the next day looking up like, can spiders, because I had this dream where there were like millions of spiders in this place that I was in, but they were all being fed like dye of some sort. And they were making tapestries and just, it was like the million monkeys behind the keyboard will end up coming up with Shakespeare type of theory. But all these spiders, they were making like just weird tapestries. Then there would be like, they completely redid the Sistine Chapel. Then they would have things where they embroidered writing into stuff. And some of it was gibberish and some of it was poetry and some of it was scripts and stories that had been written and some not. And so it was really fun reading about, and I guess the golden orb spider, I think, was the only one. Yeah. Oh, I get lots of nightmares. Yeah. I dream a lot.
Plenty.
But but they're the only ones that can actually spin in like a different color. But so I don't know. So it was a great idea for me to have this whole multiverse of things written, and that, like you were saying, and that's one of the things that I'm working on right now is just writing stories. There's a particular story that I have out for, it's in submission right now, so I don't want to talk too much about it, but it involves a bunch of stories that have never been written before. And like, there's a way to pull them all together where it's like stories based off of things, or something that somebody never finished, or something that was never written, but that could have been, and stuff like that. And that's something I'm having a lot of fun with, is like, when I am inspired by something, I'm like, okay, but what if this had happened? And so now I've finally found like the breakthrough story that was based off of dreams and stuff, of how to write all of the stories that I think would have been great if that author would have gone further with something, or make up an author and just write a story and be like, this is a snippet of something that I can't find the whole novel for, but at least I can start it right now and include it somewhere as like, and this is just 20 pages that was written and they never finished the rest of it. You know, it was something that was cut from something, but it has a place now in my world of the way my brain works. So
that rocks. Nairi Battalion did a similar thing. One of her characters is writing a novel, but you want to read the whole thing, but you only get pieces. I love that idea.
Nice. That would be fun to read. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So many writers write about writing because they tell us to write what we know. And what are you writing about? Well, I'm writing about somebody who's stuck in the middle of fucking writing something and they don't know what to say. They don't know how to finish it.
Well, there's even a category of poetry that's writing about poetry. Literally, Ars Poetica is what it's called. It's literally poetry about writing poetry. So, again, it's something we already know. So we write about what we know.
There's something for everybody to write about.
Yeah.
Even if just the writing process.
Do you guys ever get stuck in a voice that you don't want to write in, but there's no other way to write it?
Yes. My current zombie novel, the sequel to Raz T Slasher, part of why I'm stuck on it is because the villain in that book, I don't like the voice that he's using. I don't like him. I don't like anything about the character or the voice that I have to use to write him. So I keep stepping away because I don't like it. And every time I do, I come back to it and I go, why haven't I written on this in a while? Oh, yeah.
Because I hate him.
Yes, I hate him so much.
Through getting his part wrote out before you can figure out how to write. Your brain will let you figure out how to write it differently. Sometimes you have to just write it out and let it be what it will be.
Yeah.
And that's probably why I'm stuck. I'm trying to figure out what it's supposed to be and then put it on paper.
I think that's where things are honestly a little easier for me with the way I write, taking so much from my childhood, from the town that's still nearby that I grew up in. Like, I know all these places. I know the people that I'm basing characters on so well. And I love bad guys, and I tend to overdevelop the villains, as you guys well know. Even the ones that are there for 2,000 words, they're still so ungodly developed. Because that's where I come. I like when the bad guys win for change. They don't always win in my stories, and more often than not, they don't. But when they do, that's the payoff. So I think I get myself to that point where the voice is just always there, so I don't struggle as much to find them or not like them later. But that is something that I do hear from a lot of people. But except for, again, people like me who write small town horror tend to have an easier time.
It's like your Christmas slasher, the whole thing of finding out who the slasher was. It's one of those, oh, that's interesting.
Oh, I almost forgot what story you were talking about for a minute because I forgot I wrote that one. But yeah, I do remember that one now. That was the third version of that, actually, that I finally was okay enough to just be like, okay, I like this now. Yeah.
that's another.
That was great.
That would have been my grandpa's house. The whole house is set up. That was the house I grew up going to hanging out with my grandma and grandpa in.
Oh wow.
I love it when you're going through all your like folders and you're like, wait, that sounds familiar. And then you click on it. I wrote that?
Yeah.
No, I remember writing it, but who was I when I was writing that? Because that's totally different than anything I would write now. And
it's the headspaces.
Yeah.
And I do that all the time.
And then all the things that you can't finish.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, I can't, that's not right. So I got to wait until, you got to wait until you can get that person back, or until they change enough that they've changed the story for you and they've told you, okay, this is what you did. This is what we're going to change. This is how you go from this point on. Because you started this, but we're finishing it for you. And for it to be finished the way that we want it, you have to change the way it started.
I think they found an interesting possible way around headspace problems. So if I'm going to write a particular project and I don't really have a lot of inspiration, I'll pick certain music and like a candle. So I have a smell, a sound. I'll pick a soda that's different from Mountain Dew, or like I'll drink water or some kind of different drink that I'm not used to. So I'm engaging all my senses while I sit down to kind of write what I'm writing. That way, if I'm onto something that's unique that I didn't realize I was going to write, I'll be able to get back to it because I'll be able to recreate all the things in my environment that will help to draw me back into the headspace. It's not 100% as effective, but it helps a lot being able to like find that way back into a story again. I'm actually having to do that right now to finally finish Sounds of Crimson 2. I had to get my candle. I got everything finally assembled now, so this week I can start finishing that.
I look forward to that.
And I found the perfect candle to represent the 90s. If you've ever got to write about the 90s, there is a candle by Bath & Body Works, and it's called Flannel. It legit smells like a brand new flannel shirt, a campfire, and Teen Spirit. It's like the perfect smell. If you were around then and you're writing something then, find that candle and burn. It'll take you back immediately, man. It's amazing. Oh,
right over there, I still have a flannel that I wore in high school that still fits. It's like the comfiest. The only problem is one of the buttons on the sleeve came off, but it's one of those shirts that came with extra buttons.
Yes.
So I still have the buttons. I just have to remember to actually take one off and sew it into the sleeve because I keep forgetting to do that.
They don't do that with flannels now. Like back then, they always did that with flannels. Now you go buy a brand new one, they don't often have the extra button.
Jerks. It costs somewhat like 5 cents.
I don't even think that.
Put 2 extra buttons.
And the buttons are so expensive now.
They are.
And you can't match them to something from 30 years ago. And the 90s was 30 years ago.
Lies.
Oh my God.
Oh, shut up. I don't need to hear that.
Lies.
That's awful.
In Rastopia, the 90s were last Wednesday.
Yeah, same.
Hello.
Hey. That's why we have the blue box. So it's always now.
Yes.
I had that discussion with my neurologist a while ago. I got to make another appointment with him, by the way. Remind me of that, guys. Sorry, everybody.
Me too.
But we all need to see our doctors. Shit.
Yeah, we're getting old.
But I talked to him and I'm like, I've been seeing you now for over 20 years. And it's been like, I've been seeing you for over half of my life. And he's like, shut up, you have not. We aren't that old. No, we aren't. You did not at all. You have not. We've been seeing each other for like 5 years now. That's it. I'm like, okay.
That's okay.
We just moved, and the doctors that my kids have been seeing since they were born, are 6-month-old, are no longer going to be the people they see. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, that's tough though, man. It is. It's tough for the doctor and for the kids and for you because everybody gets so close, and then you move up to no more pediatric doctors. Here you go, and you're like, I like that guy.
Oh God, if I ever have to stop seeing my neurologist, I mean, because I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I have seen so many neuros, and because when I moved, I tried to find a replacement, and no.
It's hard.
If you have problems and you need to see a neurologist, they are so specific. What's the word? It's not specific, but
niche.
Yes, they are such a niche area of medicine, and you have to find one who totally resonates with you and understands what's going on. And having seen the same doctor now for over 20 years, I everybody else I've seen has just been terrible when I've tried to get in and do anything. So it's just like I quit trying to look for somebody, but I know other people that have, and the older doctors that I still tried to see before that are still around, and they're still jerks to everybody. Like everyone I know who's seen certain specific doctors has fired them because they're just like, oh God, they're terrible. And they all go to my doctor now. They're like,
I have to find a new heart doctor for Sophia, and that is one thing that I'm afraid of.
Yeah.
Finding one that's like good for her.
You have to have that bond. Yeah, sorry everybody. We're here to talk about writing and neurologists and heart doctors.
We're here to talk about all of it. It all matters. It all, your doctors matters. And you were saying something, Patti?
No, I don't even remember what I was saying. So yeah.
Okay.
That's one of the problems of getting old.
Yeah.
My doctor has a copy of everything that I've written, and he's also the one who I sit down and I'm like, okay, so I have some questions, and people on the internet think I'm working like on the dark web when I ask them questions about this, or like am bad. So what happens? What do you do if you sorry. But I'm like, what happens if you spiral cut a brain? And he's like, oh, let me go get visual aids. Yes.
That is awesome.
Yeah, he runs and he's like, okay, so here's what happens. And he's like pulling out sections of the brain and like showing me. So it's like, okay, so you're cutting it this way? I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, so you put the spiral cutter in and you get this kind of butterfly flaps because the way the lobes work. But yeah, you could do this. And I'm like,
that is awesome.
You aren't scared of me.
Yeah, every writer needs somebody like that.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about writing, though. When people find out you're a writer, like, it makes it easier to ask questions that it may not be appropriate in different settings. I always talk about my buddy Cooper, James Cooper. He was an ex-police chief, ex-special forces, all kinds of stuff. So when I hit a wall and I'm trying to, I need to know a police code about something specific in his area, I can call him any time of day or night. Even if he's asleep, he'll answer, which I try not to do. He'll answer me, and we'll talk for 5 hours, and I'll take notes. I'm like, okay, thanks, buddy. And then we'll either go film something together later, and I'll take him out to dinner or something, or I'll just dedicate something to him. But it's important to have people like this in our lives in different areas, and it makes our research go a lot quicker because we already spend way too much damn time researching versus the time we actually write. And I know all of us here do this because we've all talked about this often. We'll research for 17 hours for something we only write about for 5 minutes in a story. And
yeah,
when we have people like this helps us know what to focus on in the research. So that 17 hours might only be 15, but still, it's less hours than it would have been because now we know what to target and really look at. And it's really helpful.
I'm going to, if I can, I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot tonight. I'm super hyper. There's no crow in my body, so it's just me tonight. So I'm just like,
oh, it's over here. They're right here. Oh no.
Hi.
Okay, guys. Like I warned you guys, my walker of the 9 rings of hell decided to come join us.
Hey, buddy.
Hello, Dante.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Gandhi.
It's always a morning. Okay, Daddy's here to get you. You gonna go help Daddy? Yeah. Okay, go help Daddy. You guys are gonna do something fun. Thank you.
Bye, Dante.
Fun.
Bye. Love you both. I'm sorry. Okay, let's continue.
Sorry.
As you were saying, Dante's always a thing that will happen.
Oh, gotta give kisses.
He sends all the loves back to all 3 of you, I promise.
That's the thing about writing.
So
there's distractions. There's good distractions like Dante. Dante is classified as a good distraction. But then there are bad
Absolutely.
distractions. When you're living in a hotel and it catches on fire or what have you.
Yeah, that was one of the worst ones.
Yeah, that was a bad one. But, there's good and bad distractions. That's another thing we manage as writers, I think, more than people realize. because when we get distracted, if it's a good distraction, it's easy to come back into our work. But if it's a bad one, we might have only been writing for 20 minutes and we're on a roll, and then a bad distraction happens. And sometimes I can't go back to writing, not even just that day. It fucks me up so bad that it'll be like a week before I get back to it again, because I'm just so thoroughly out of the zone. I get taken out of it so hard and so quick that I just can't find my bearings again.
I will know that there was this point that I just figured out a way to go through or go to that was perfect, and I lost it. And until I find that again, I can't write. It's because I can't start at this point and keep going on. I have to remember how was it that I got there, because that will influence what happens from there. But my research, first of all, okay, if you're a writer, I am proud of you. Write, put any word down. If you just write like, God damn it, I'm supposed to be writing about this and I should be writing about this and I'm not writing about this. You just wrote this 3 times, you know, you did something. Good for you. Write the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog over and over. At least you get typing. Oh, you can do it though. We'll overcome this together. We all will. But
it is
for the love of God,
to move forward with that, definitely.
For the love of God, people, have somebody beta read your stuff or edit, because there are some things, and this is why some of us research so much, because you have to be in that set to get going. If I read something and somebody has messed up part of what they wrote, and it does, like, I understand some of the details being messed up if it's something very small.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to name names for any of this because I don't even remember, because they pissed me off. But somebody wrote this book and it was all about
if you say killer mimes, I swear to God.
No, it was all about like some form of the messed up second coming Damien-esque Antichrist type of thing.
Okay.
But the main focus of the book was the Immaculate Conception being the birth of Jesus, or being the impregnation of Mary. And it's not. The Immaculate Conception is when Mary's mother became pregnant with her, St. Anne. Became pregnant with her because there had to be a holy vessel in order to carry the Son of God. So the whole book has priests and everybody referring to the Immaculate Conception as the wrong thing. Now, this is not something, I mean, many people get that messed up. I understand. But if you're writing a goddamn book about it, you should know what it's about, and your editor or your beta readers, or maybe you should just ask a priest real quick to make sure you got it right. Or I don't know, type in the words Immaculate Conception one time in Google and it will tell you what it is. So things like that mess me up and cause me to go into hyper rabbit hole, deep dive. So like I have wood.com on my saved bookmarks list, because yes, I have all these, I have multiple websites about wood. Because in one of the stories that I'm writing, one of the main characters' fathers is a carpenter who is in one scene describing a very intricate ceiling that he is designing for someone. And this was based on when I was younger, when mom was hiring somebody, this carpenter described the ceiling that he had in his, craftsman home was his mother's or his grandmother's quilt pattern laid out in different styles of wood all over. And I thought that was cool. So I was like, okay, I'll include that. But in order to get it right, on the off chance that a carpenter happens to be reading the book that I'm writing and that like 2-paragraph section isn't written exactly right with the grain of the wood, the way they lay out, the colors of the wood, how it is, I'm going to get that right. So I'm going to research it, write all down, and then contact at least 3 different of my friends who are woodworkers and make sure that I have that right. So that just in case one of them were to read it, they would not be like, oh, Kari, no, that is called this, not that. And right. Because he felt the need, and I could just be like, and then she suggested that he used certain type, like, no, Dad, this is the way you do it. no, it's like, but no, you gotta like, it has to be exact. And so this is why some of us are insane.
Yeah.
When we go, you all think like, why are you getting so deeply into this? And it's because that way we don't end up being the guy who writes the story about the Immaculate Conception wrong.
Okay, I felt insane recently. I ended up buying. I am going to name the name because the books were amazing. C.M. Malongi did some novellas recently, and I bought all 3 of them. Okay, or 4 of them, something like that. Anyway, all of them were amazing, but in the last one, there was a single typo. Just one. And I'm sitting there, after I read the typo, I'm sitting there obsessing about it the whole time I'm reading the whole damn book. Till at the end, I actually sent the author a message going, I know this is going to sound insane, but you had a typo on this page in this paragraph. And I would want somebody to let me know, so I'm letting you know.
That is why I sent you the picture. I sent you the cover of the book, and I'm like, Patty, we need to talk about this so other people
and I fixed it.
Go, what the hell?
And I fixed it. But yeah, I am absolutely that insane to where I literally sent the author an email, or I think it was an Instagram message. I was like, you have a typo on this page. Just letting you know.
Dude, I became somebody's editor that way. They were self-publishing on KDP and Kindle. It's a Kindle thing, but it's also on Amazon. Way back in the day when they were doing it, it was print on demand. But for the audience, it was print on demand or get it on Kindle. So if you have it that way, if you need to go back and change something, you can change it. And from that point forward, the book will be corrected or changed how you do it. So this person who I'd won one of their books, and then it was like their first book that they'd ever published. I got an autographed copy and all this cool merch and stuff. And then I was reading their next one. I was like, I'm sorry to say, but your editors missed like 39 things. And here they all are with each page and every little paragraph numbered on them. And I just thought you should know, because I think you're an amazing writer, and you talked to me after I got your book, and I just want to do that. And he was like, oh, wow, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to go in and fix that. And then he was like, so do you want to start looking over the rest of my stuff? Like, just take over as my editor sense. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. Got it. So that like, you can do that. And there are some other books where you look at something and it's like the 25th anniversary release of, I believe it was the Shannara books, still have multiple editing errors in them. And I'm like, guys, you're a major are they Del Rey or I think maybe what?
Oh my God.
I can't remember.
Kelly Colby had something to say about that. After you get so big, they just stop editing your stuff.
They stop trying.
And what's
I apologize for the darkness.
You're good.
We can still hear you. Everything's good.
One of the things that I ran into earlier versions of Silence is Crimson, back when it was still the mime, I had people that were just trying to shove it out, and they weren't really paying attention to typos. So, like my earliest version of that book, the first 2 releases of that book, were so full of typos, and I would like send them lists. Hey, this is wrong. Why did that get changed? Like, this is bad. Now you got, you have an editor fix this. Oh, it's fine, and nothing. And so I got with Patty, and then she helped me really go through it. I'm gonna have a typo once in a while, guys. I have dyslexia, so it's pretty bad sometimes. So sometimes you'll see something, and I'll have a word spelt half backwards, or like 1 or 2 words swapped with 2 other words. It happens with me, and it's a fight. So one of the things that I did for myself to make myself feel better about the fact that I'm gonna fuck up is I started officially adding a phrase in my letter to readers in the beginning of every book. It started just with Riverside Chronicles. It says, "This is a labor of love. Any similarity to grammatical errors, real or imagined, or actual typos is purely coincidental." That's how I'm handling it. There's going to be a couple
Well, any book that you have with Fae Corps is not going to have at least as many because
no.
I'm OCD.
Yeah.
And I edit your books.
Right.
It's not going to have them.
That's what I was saying. Like the big jump between before I was with you and then, you know, when I started publishing through you was like night and day. Like the amount of things that you catch and, you know, that either my brain or my, you know, writing programs don't catch. You've cut a lot, man, but other people didn't. So now, like, that's helped me be more vigilant with myself as well, which is great when it comes to typos. But I had to write myself that little writer on there to just feel better about the fact that I know I'm going to screw up. And when people see that, they're going to go, "Oh, there might be a couple typos in here, but he covered himself, and that's pretty funny." And it's my humor, so
I can't remember. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, and that's the way it is with most people. There are going to be typos. Like I said, C.M. Longy's books were amazing. One typo in 4 books, that's not bad.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember who it is, and I tried to just look it up, and it's all about like, oh, no, let's give you all these educational things. No, I'm asking for fuck you, Google. There was an author who was criticized vastly for, I know it was a him, for his lack of punctuation properly being used, his lack of using commas and stuff. And so in one book that he put out, like the first couple of pages were just like comma, 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 period, period, a couple of different punctuation moves.
You were going to say chameleon after that.
And no, that's my mom's name's Karma. We always do comma chameleon. But he just did that, and he was like, take these and stick them in wherever you feel that they're missing. And that was like his letter to his fans. He was like, I put it how I want. If you think that it's missing a comma, grab one from the beginning of the book and just stick it in there.
Yeah. Plug and play.
And that's great. I can't figure out who it was. It was a while ago. It wasn't like a modern day when it was funny because it was back in not quite Gutenberg days, but you know.
I will say on the flip side of that, if there's a story that I just fall in love with, even if it has a lot of typos, if the story has gripped me hard enough, I will suffer the fuck through it, and I will read every word in those books. And I ran into an amazing story. It's a young adult series about vampires. It's called House of Night. I love those books, man. I've read every one of them. I know they're more, female-ish leaning, but I've also read Twilight and enjoyed most of those books. But like there's a lot of typos in the early books in the House of Night series. It's tough. It is really tough. But the story hooks you so quick and so fast that I just, after a while, I was, oh, there's another one. Fuck it, I don't care. I'm just reading it. But it's got to be a really
I couldn't get past the baseball scene in Twilight. The sparkling vampire just kind of got me.
Well, the thing is, they don't sparkle in the books. They only sparkle like that in the movies. Like their skin is weirdly iridescent, not sparkly.
Yeah,
that's what they did in the movies because the movies suck.
But the iridescent skin, it just sat wrong. The way she described it was like, really?
Odd. But to be honest with you, if you remove Bella and Edward, just pretend they don't exist, those books are amazing. The attention to detail, all the other rich characters in the background, the settings, the reservation.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many great things, except for that one terrible relationship or one terrible human being and one terrible vampire that are terrible for each other, and we got to suffer through it. But the rest of it is great.
Exactly. Like I said, I just couldn't get past the baseball scene because her description of his skin was just so bad. Everything else in the book up to that point was okay, but that one scene, it was like, oh.
Yep. I don't disagree with you.
Okay, one other question I had 2 more questions I wanted to ask before we head towards the end, since it's like 8:44. One, you all have like a under the bed monster or monster in your general stories. I wanted to find out what type of relationship, would they want to be friends or would they want to run away from everybody's favorite clown in Stephen King's universe?
Here's the thing about that. That clown is only one tiny piece of Bob Gray, and what Bob Gray is just a projection of an interdimensional being stuck between other universes. So if we're talking about only when he's the clown, we're
talking about him, the whole entire being that is him It's just when everybody thinks about that being,
They usually, only think about the
most of them picture Tim Curry's clown
Yeah.
version.
I mean, I'm going to be honest. Tim Curry and only Tim Curry in the clown costume is the only clown in my entire life that terrified me as a child and still gives me pause as an adult. But only Tim Curry. No other killer clown in the history of time has ever like freaked me out and gotten me. I enjoy the shit out of those stories, but like him as the clown got me. But when he was a clown in the book, but when he was a clown in the book, it didn't bother me at all. Didn't remotely. It was cool, but you got 2 million things in the book to focus on. There's the clown of, there's the cloud of man-eating or flesh-eating bugs. There's the werewolf. There's all these different things that Bob Gray turns into to get the fear he needs to send back to the interdimensional being he's hosting for, basically. So Bob Gray is an extension of that creature. I think we'd get along. I think we'd be cool. I think if maybe anything, I would help him find a new way via the internet to terrify people to feed or something like that. You know what I mean? Like there's so many different ways he could be feeding, man. It's not on children, but sometimes there's children that I'm cool with that. Once in a while. So it's just one of those things. It depends on the person, but I think we'd be cool. I'd be standoffish if it was Tim Curry as the clown, for damn sure. But I think if it was anything else, I'd be all right.
So you think Mr. Jones would be his buddy?
Oh yeah, Mr. Jones and him would probably chill out all the time. They probably smoke underneath the bed in the cabin, or
Bunderman, and Dahlia are two of them, a monster under the bed and a monster in the closet. So they're Mubs and Mix in my story. In the way that my story was presented, it was partially inspired off of Susan, Death's granddaughter from the Discworld, being the nanny and coming in and teaching the children how to beat up their fears. And as Susan uses the poker, the babysitter in mine basically condemns them to hell and captures them. But I think they would have loved Pennywise if they could have gotten into touch with him before they were being beaten up and taken over, because Pennywise would have taught them how to properly instill fear into these children. But unfortunately, after they were taken to task and the babysitter knew monster magic and was able to take them away, they probably would have just looked for him for help to can we just come hang out with you? This just isn't working for us. You've got a town where there isn't somebody that's doing all this, but they would also have sympathized with wait a minute, the kids are rebelling. They're starting to fight back against the clown. They're starting to fight back against us. So I think they would have liked him, but it all depended on which phase they met in each of their levels of being scary versus hunted, or hunter versus hunted, I guess. Yeah.
What about you, Patti?
Well, that's the thing. I'm sitting here trying to remember which of my stories was the monster under the bed story, because
it could be any monster you have. It's just there's of the monster under the bed story have been a little bit more prominent in the house because we could listen to Mr. Jones and lovely Miss Kari read hers to the girls for our special campfire session.
Because while Harvey was a monster, he was not exactly an under the bed thing. Rowan was a monster, but his wasn't an under the bed thing. Both of them were more otherworldly, more like it himself. Yeah. And
so
if you take either of them,
your world of monsters, would they want to be friends with him?
I don't think so. I think they would. I don't think friends would be the exact word. I think they would see themselves as a standalone thing. And much like it sees himself as a standalone thing. I think that at that point, it would be a case of any of those creatures put into a world together would see themselves suddenly in competition to find the food for themselves, because each of them were looking for the same food, basically.
That makes a lot of sense with your writing too, because I could definitely see where they would be in competition for sure.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Jason and
Exactly.
Freddy. I can say with the rest of the monsters that I have in stories that I have written and have not, yeah, they very much want to own their place. I do a lot of Lovecraftian stuff as well, in which case, like, I think Nyarlathotep would be amused and like maybe hang out with him for a while and then just crush him. But other than that, I don't see any of them. Monsters are very possessive, I think, in most cases. It's very hard to, even if it's a monster of the mind, to let them, human or not, whatever, they just don't want to share their playground. It's like when serial killers cross territories and it's just like, nah, man. We know how that ends. That ends badly.
And that's something you see with most monsters in most books, honestly. There's not it's always going to be a competition with most monsters. And the way I approach them, I think, is different than the norm entirely, which isn't always a good thing. Because in mine, like, the whole town contains all these things. So and it's meant to contain all that. And these things are just like, you know what? You're here. I'm in this house, buddy. You're like 3 blocks down. Go home. Like,
and
monsters,
I think that actually might be the way I need to approach the second zombie book. I've been approaching the bad guy and that as a villain. Perhaps I need to instead approach him as a monster.
Possibly.
Human monster, but still
there's
a monster.
There's a big difference between monsters and villains. There really honestly is. It's a fine line, but once you figure that out, there's a lot more you can do. Because like in Riverside, there's 2 towns. There's the town that belongs to the humans. There's the town that belongs to all the evil and monsters and crazy things. It's literally meant to be a dichotomy of 2 towns and 2 completely different ways of looking at it. The humans, the monsters are the bad guys. To the monsters, the humans are either food or they're the bad guys. And that's just how it is. So it's, again, it's the town thing. So it's a lot different.
If I'm looking at him as a villain, then I'm going to always have a hard time because villains are supposed to act a certain way, and I'm supposed to eventually see a redeemable quality to a villain.
Right.
But monsters don't necessarily have to be redeemable.
Exactly.
No,
they are what they are.
Few of them are redeemed.
It's true. I think, and my favorite film/book ever, Cabal Nightbreed, is one of the few things you see where the monsters are redeemable. They do have redeeming qualities, and mankind are actually the bad guys entirely in that story, despite how monstrous the Midianites are. So like that affected me so much as a child, and still as an adult, that's why I write my monsters that way, where they do have these. Even Mr. Jones has very strangely redeemable qualities, because maybe none of that would have happened had they not broken into his house. He was just hanging out at his house in the woods, and there's some kids breaking in. Who knows?
Yeah.
But like I put these little things like that in there because to me, monsters are more humane in many senses than humans are. If a monster has to eat, he's not going to play with his food. You're just dead. You're eating. If a human's going to eat something, 9 times out of 10, what do? They shoot it, drag it through 12 miles, and they still dress it while it's still alive, or you know what I mean? Like terrible things.
In the Sea Witch, the witch, the monster of the story is redeemable. That's part of what I'd planned on for her, but I hadn't thought about it for the zombie book. I hadn't thought about whether or not he was a villain or a monster, and I think that might make a difference in how I finish that.
It could.
Think sideways, as Dad
exactly.
would say. Think sideways and see where it takes you.
Exactly. I think a good representation of that would be I view a number of my monsters like Venom. who himself is a monster, but is also an anti-hero and does good things for people sometimes, but he also needs people, and that's just what he does.
You just gotta eat people.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta eat somebody, okay, guys? I mean,
I'm reading Marvel Zombies right now, so that's just killing me.
Deadpool.
I love Deadpool.
The other question that I had wanted to ask is, how did all of you guys, except for, well, yeah, Patti, yours would be slightly different. How did you guys find your way to Fae Corps? And yours would be how you and Cindy decided Fae Corps should exist.
I think Patti should start this one because it makes sense that the creator starts. You know what I mean? Like,
well, we were in a writers group on Facebook, Creative Central, and there was a group of us. Most of the group that we were in decided to go off and become Balance of Seven. It was Todd Tinker, myself, Inez Freeman, Cindy. You know, there was quite a few of us. Deidre, Des, Jensen, like I said, a huge group of us, and we were talking about the idea of doing an anthology. Well, Yanez and Todd broke off. They didn't end up wanting to do it the way we wanted to do it. And it ended up being 6 of us that went ahead and did the stories up for it. It was me, Cindy, Des, Leigh Plumbo. Trying to remember all the names of the original 6, but
Under the Mist.
Yes, that one's Under the Mist, and we got it to where all the stories were written, and it was a good collection of stories, and we were sitting there talking about it, Cindy and I, and we decided, well, if we're going to publish this, we need a name for the publisher. And I was like, well, why not Fae Corps? And Cindy misunderstood it, and she was thinking, well, I was thinking military. No, I was thinking more like Salvation Army style Fae Corps. You know, a group of fairies, a corps of fairies. It was meant to be, you know, a group of, not a military engagement of. But it worked. So we went ahead and we published Under the Mist, and then I wanted to do another anthology because it worked so well. I wanted to keep it going. So I wanted to do a poetry anthology. So I started putting together the stuff for Fairy Footprints. That worked out real well. Okay, that worked out so well. Let's do a horror anthology. So I started going onto the various social media, including Reddit and Discord. And by that point, I had found my way onto Kari's Discord, right. And I found Raz and Kari there. And I posted that, you know, I was doing this anthology. And I was like, you know, I'm looking for people. And both of them decided to submit stories to it. And their stories were amazing, to say the least. So, and that was the Nightmare Whispers anthology. Yes.
Yeah, right there. There's a 3-volume one.
Yeah, because we had so many. Yeah, we had so many submissions that I had to split it into 3 different volumes. So
I'm grateful you did an omnibus version too of that.
yes.
That was a fun time, man, because I remember when you popped in there to write, right? And our buddy Kyle, you know, he started write forever ago, and he's still keeping those fires burning. It was interesting because I talked to you for a while, you know, as a writer. You know, you were part of the writing group with us. You know, we all talked. We had some campfires back then too. That, you know, you were able to come to, I think, 1 or 2 there in the beginning for a while before everything got crazy.
Yeah.
The times and dates changed, and then we discovered that we actually knew each other from AOL gaming back like in the day. On top of that, so it was kind of cool to find out that this was someone I already actually knew for years and had just lost contact with for years. So it was kind of a twofer for me, and someone that I used to technically write with, you know, with RP and stuff back in the day, to now actually getting to write with as a professional writer. So it was a super special thing for me to get to come back, you know, after all those years of, you know, forgetting about each other, kind of, you know, life going on, to get back to that and then write together in a different capacity. And I mean, I enjoyed it so much that every single big thing that I've ever put out since has been with you. So I've been really happy with it, and I've had a great time with it, man. It's easy. You know, you guys are always easy to deal with. You make my life easy and fun. And then if I'm not doing the shit I need to do, you let me know, and you keep me on track, which is much needed with me. I get all over the place sometimes, man. It's helpful.
Everything I've done for writing has been on accident. I have a cousin who, when I was on Facebook, started just adding me to all these horror groups because he knew I was really into horror and that I was writing, but I hadn't really been doing anything with it. And I'd started, and then I stopped because I was taking care of my grandparents, and I did that for about 10 years. And I was still doing some writing and a lot of editing on the side, but I didn't do much with my writing because I didn't have any time to do that. And then I started doing some stuff for No Sleep with a collaboration there for this hotel series. And that had a Discord, which brought me into the Right Discord, where I met Raz. And then eventually met Patti from there. And right after my grandfather passed, I was published for the first time. And that was another one of those, like, somebody added me to a site on Facebook that was for submissions for a Lovecraftian anthology. And I don't know. I still to this day don't know who added me, but I just was like, okay. And I wrote something and it got published. And then I was all excited and I was like, yay, I got published and I was part of Right. And then Patti was like, well, I'm publishing something. And I was like, well, I can do something, try one of the other stories that I've been doing that isn't part of the Lovecraft stuff. And it was exciting. And so I got published again. And
a super special thing for me that came out of that. Nightmare Whispers was the start of me and Kari back and forth dragging each other into shit. And that was really the first time we dragged each other into something. And ever since then, every project we've done together, be it shows or writing or whatever, just, hey, I'm doing this. Come do it. Okay. We've just been doing that to each other for since.
If any of you haven't figured out by yet, we are brother and sister, not by blood, but shared brain.
Yeah.
We just pass it back and forth, and
ship it.
Well, I guess, yeah. Sometimes it gets lost in handling for a little bit, so you'll have to forgive us. But
But the dresser people always give it back.
Yes, the dresser people. Oh God, the things that the dresser people have been doing to me lately have been terrible. Yeah. All of my socks right now and my lighters. The dresser people come and once again, for those of you unaware who haven't followed the Owlite thing, okay, everybody has that thing. They're like, oh, I'm missing my lighters. I have the dresser people. They come, they steal my shit. They bring in new stuff for me. They replace it, but they replace it with things that I've never owned in my life. Or they'll bring back, like, suddenly I'll have 6 lighters when the day before I had none. But none of them are lighters that I've bought. And they have, like, they're decorated in such a way that it's like, oh, look, life's a beach. And I'm like, I would never buy that. I would never have owned that. Nobody else has lived with me for 3 years. So why do I what's with the waterfall one? No, I didn't buy that either. But who did this? And so
I know that feeling, because this thing randomly appeared in my stuff, and I'm like, where did that come from?
Yeah,
I just have a carved owl.
I get all sorts of just random stuff. I don't want to dig around because I'm going to pull up stuff, but I just get random things dropped off, and I hear them at night. There will be footsteps in my room. I've had them brush up against my bed. I just don't open my eyes. One of them took a nap by me one night, and it was like I'm laying in bed, starting to fall asleep, and I have a big one of those long, like huggy pillows, the body pillows beside me. And one of them laid down on the other side of the bed, and I felt the bed sink in, and I heard somebody breathing next to me. And I had my meds. I was laying there, and you have that fight or flight moment. And I had fight, flight, or fuck it. And so I was just like, go ahead. You haven't hurt me yet. And just fell asleep.
Already at this point.
You know, I mean, you've been hanging out in the dresser. It's just a couple feet away. You might as well take a nap while the rest of your family runs around and steals shit from my apartment and leaves me other stuff. Okay, that's fine. I'm good.
I think they're the offshoot of the underwear gnomes.
Yeah.
That's okay. My house is haunted, and every time I bring that up, I end up with a new therapist who goes, so, are you positive that you aren't seeing things? It's like, no, other people have seen it too.
Oh, that's my mom's place. Yeah.
Not only are we haunted, we brought ghosts with us.
Right.
And the current ghost is the family member of somebody that my husband works with. So therefore, yeah, we just adopted a new grandma, and with the two that we brought with us, and we're just going to continue like we are.
Yeah.
That's all you can do, you know?
As long as they aren't, you know, hurting anyone, you know.
No, just weird smells every so often that aren't akin to the normal ones we have, and then we just continue on. It's like, oh,
yep.
Where the hell did that come from? I have no idea. I've never seen that before. And I'm like, okay, whatever. You're just trying to tell me I'm on the right track. It's an owl. What the hell?
That's awesome.
The wrong with owls.
That is awesome.
Okay. I know we talked about keeping this closer to an hour, so how about we wrap it up here? And you guys have been amazing. And thank you for coming. And I hope you guys come for the next episode. I'm still trying to figure out what the new authors are. I will let you guys know as soon as I get answers back. And Raz, Kari, Patti, please tell everybody where we can find you guys.
Let's start up with Raz.
You can find me at raztslasher.com. Pretty much just about everything I have is linked to there. I'm in the process of getting all the socials up that the lovely Jenny creates and runs for me all the time. She's amazing. But
thank you.
Literally, if you just type in Raz T Slasher to a search engine, I'm the only one that's going to pop up, and there's going to be like a million things thanks to Jenny. So you're going to just Google me. And I know how bad that sounds. I don't even care. Just Google me. And also, I want to thank you a lot, Jenny, for bringing me on today. Like, it's always a good excuse to hang out with you guys, especially the four of us in general. And it's always so much fun. And no matter what kind of day I'm having, I know that this is going to be like that shining moment for my day, maybe my week or month, who knows? But thank you so much for thinking about me and making me join today.
Hey, you guys can catch me, Google me, or well, I think I'm the only Kari Leigh Sanders is out there, or look up Kari Sanders on Facebook. When I am not doing things with the Owlite or writing, I am also hanging out with the fellows over at the Dorkening, our lovely gents there. There's a couple other ladies, but the ones I hang out with, I'm the only gal around. And yeah, that's about all I do. So see you there.
I'm Pattimouse pretty much everywhere. Or Fae Corps Publishing, and that is FaeCorpsps. And again, I keep the social media the same all over the place, so it's not hard to find us. That way it's easy.
Okay, and you guys can find me at Friday with the Library in the Blue Box. Friday, the group is Friday Blues Disorganized Library in the Blue Box. And of course, if you leave a comment on Raz's page or Fae Corps or Owlite, I will find it there. Or you can just come find me as Friday Blue on most any search engine, any social media platform. And thank you guys for joining us, and I hope you have a great night. Bye.
Bye, everybody.